These are the leaders of the BRICS countries in the Rio summit this year. In the grand chessboard of foreign policy, this formidable group has emerged. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa have now been joined by Egypt, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates. Their ambition is revolutionary: to challenge the global order long dominated by the West and to promote the role of the global South in strengthening multilateralism. But as this powerful yet diverse bloc takes the center stage, a critical question looms. Can these nations, with their own complex geopolitical and competing interests, truly cooperate to forge a united voice? Or will the internal frictions shatter this ambitious project from within? If you're interested in learning more about what happens beyond the headlines, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, because in our world, every move matters. The geopolitical antagonism between India and China is a deep-seated strategic contest rooted in their unresolved border dispute, a legacy of colonial-era agreements China never accepted. Contentious flashpoints like the Aksai Chin and the lack of a demarcated line of actual control have led to deadly military clashes. Their conflicting interests lie not just in territory, but in a struggle for regional dominance. This rivalry extends across the Indo-Pacific, fueling military modernization on both sides. The core issue is that both nuclear-armed nations aspire to be the preeminent power in Asia. The friction is intensified by China's growing military influence and its close partnership with India's primary adversary, Pakistan, turning a border dispute into a continent-wide power struggle. China arms Pakistan while India provides rivals Vietnam and the Philippines with BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles. For Beijing and New Delhi, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The hostility point between two of Africa's most powerful nations lies in the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam on the Blue Nile River. For Ethiopia, the multi-billion-dollar dam is a symbol of strength and national pride. It is the flagship project of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's administration. But for downstream Egypt, it is a disaster. Cairo relies on the Nile for over 90% of its fresh water and views the Ethiopian dam as an existential threat to its water security and to the very survival of the nation. Egypt argues that a mere 2% reduction in water from the Nile could result in loss of 200,000 acres of irrigated land. Moreover, there is no legally binding agreement on how the dam will be operated during the periods of drought, despite over a decade of negotiations. Egypt accuses Ethiopia of violating international law and seeking to impose Addis Abeba's unilateral control over a shared resource. The two don't see eye to eye, and the impasse has pushed tensions to a boiling point, with some fearing it could lead to one of Africa's first major water wars. The relationship between Egypt and the United Arab Emirates is a pragmatic partnership, not a monolithic alliance. They're bound by economic necessity and shared security goals in Libya and Yemen, as well as countering political Islamism, notably the Muslim Brotherhood. But their cooperation faced unique challenges with the outbreak of the civil war in Sudan. The two nations took opposing sides. Cairo supports the Sudanese armed forces, while Abu Dhabi backs the rival paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. And this has become a brutal competition for regional power and valuable resources such as gold and rare earth minerals. And Sudan is too valuable for either nation to lose. To call them allies would be a simplification at best. Another complex and dangerous rivalry simmers between the United Arab Emirates and Iran. This is a multifaceted conflict rooted in deep suspicion and competition for dominance in the Arabian Peninsula. A key point of contention is the territorial dispute at the critical energy choke point, Strait of Hormuz, over 3 strategic islands controlled by Iran but claimed by the Emirates. Their rivalry also plays out in the Yemeni civil war, a devastating proxy battleground. Tehran provides crucial backing to the Houthi rebels, while Abu Dhabi provides support to the southern separatist movements as means to secure its interests in the Bab el-Mandab Strait. As such, their relationship remains a fragile balance of competing geopolitical goals and pragmatic economic interests. Despite the divisions, BRICS members share powerful strategic alignments that are actively reshaping trade and investments outside the Western-led system. For instance, China is a crucial economic partner for Brazil, which exports more to Beijing than to the United States and the European Union combined. The two have also recently agreed to ditch the US dollar for trade, increasingly settling transactions in their own currencies. Lula has always been a vocal critic of the US dollar-led trade, and this is a sentiment shared by China, which now uses the yuan to settle nearly all of its commodity imports from Russia, including oil, gas, and metals. Meanwhile, an anti-hegemonic bloc is solidifying between Russia, China, and Iran. Beijing and Moscow have declared a, quote, no-limits partnership marked by joint military drills and coordinated diplomatic stances against Western pressures. And their alignment extends to Iran. Tehran has a deep military partnership with Russia and has recently signed the Iran-China 25-year cooperation program. This is a massive $400 billion injection by foreign investment in Iranian oil and gas industries. Even India maintains a decades-long strategic partnership with Russia, particularly in defense and energy. This intricate web of cooperation provides a compelling yet complex foundation for the BRICS' vision of a multipolar order. The BRICS nations, and perhaps the global south as a whole, may share a common desire to reshape the world order, but their individual geopolitical grievances and ongoing power struggles create a web of internal conflict. This brings the BRICS to a critical moment of soul-searching. What is its true purpose? The stated ambitions are clear: challenge the dominance of the Western-led system and the US dollar by settling more trade in local currencies and build a financial architecture that can insulate members from Western sanctions. And this is a lesson driven home by Russia's exclusion from global systems. In practice, de-dollarization can be done through, for instance, the creation of a BRICS currency union or a common payment system. Another key instrument has been expanding the role of the new development bank, envisioned as the premier lending institution for the Global South, which has been integrating members such as Colombia, Bangladesh, and Uzbekistan beyond the core BRICS group. However, herein lies the fundamental paradox. To achieve these grand geopolitical ambitions, the bloc must first overcome its internal paralysis. A shared frustration with the West is not a sufficient foundation for a new world order. And to justify its existence beyond bold yet antagonizing declarations, the BRICS must first develop a common, coherent philosophy. It must prove it can manage its own house before ever building a new one. This is just geopolitics. Do you think these old rivalries will shatter the BRICS' ambitions? And if you want to learn more about politics and international affairs, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.